All right, and we are live. Welcome to the BrainDrive weekly development call live stream. We do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, where we update on our progress from last week and plan out the coming week. Our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems. I'm Dave Waring, and I handle the operation side here at BrainDrive.
And I'm David Jones, and I handle the technical side of the operations here at BrainDrive.
I'm down in North Carolina this week and a little disheveled. So let me see if I can get BrainDrive up quickly and show. Yes. Okay, good. I have because we're constantly uninstalling and re-downloading here. So BrainDrive is a user-owned AI system that runs locally on your computer. It's MIT licensed open source, and we're built around trying to help you or make it as easy as possible to partner with AI to define and reach your goals. So when you log into BrainDrive, you have these life areas here that you can chat with your AI to work out what success looks like for you, whether it be your finances, your fitness, etc. So in this one, I want to lose weight and basically just get in better shape. And the AI interviews you and works with you as a thought partner to come up with a spec document,
Yep.
which is defining what success looks like, that you can then create a plan off of for reaching those goals, and then share your updates with your AI as you go along to update on progress and keep you on track as you work towards your goals. So we start with these default pages: finance, fitness, career, and relationships, because this is kind of relevant to everyone. So it's a good way to get acquainted with partnering with AI in this manner. And also, if you have your finances in order, you've got your fitness covered, you're doing good in your career, and you got great relationships, it's going to be hard to have a bad life. So
Yep.
we figured that would be a good thing to kick this off with. But you can really use this same interview spec plan journal process to define and reach goals across any area of your personal or professional life, including your work. So this process works for anything. We use it to develop BrainDrive, and we use it in our personal lives. We have three different AI model capabilities or settings available. We have the BrainDrive model, which we choose for you based on the best combination of performance, price, speed, things like that, quality. You just add credits and go. We have OpenRouter, which offers over 400 cloud-based AI models where you can get an API key and do that. And we also offer Ollama for people who want to run AI models locally on their computer for complete privacy. If you're running BrainDrive with Ollama, you don't even need an internet connection to operate your BrainDrive. So that's a little bit of an overview. And with that, I'll kick it over to Dave to update us on the development progress from last week.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and share the screen. Let's hope we picked the right screen today. There we go. We had a few releases, and I'm going to go from here because we actually did a few releases, and it just makes it easier to move through things. Let's see. Here we go. We had yesterday's, which was I was working on our new release bridge software, which is basically allows me to press a button and it goes through and securely creates all of our releases and doesn't take me all day long, because that's probably one of the most daunting things to do is that when Dave says, "Hey, let's do a release," and it's like I say, "Okay, that'll take 15 minutes," and then 2 hours later it gets done. And if there's one thing that has to be quicker, it's that. So I spent a little time this weekend design, we did the first one, which I called release process. I found it to be too fragile. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's go through BrainDrive first. Let's see, the first one was very quickly. We identified that there was a default email stuck in the system, and so we got that cleaned out very quickly. Then that came through basically the second thing of dealing with the same issue of cleaning that up. And let's see, then we got to Dave. He was doing his journal work. He cut that into two different pieces, and that's where he found the other one. Next time I'm going to start this probably in chronological order because it'll move better. Because if you move this way, it's like, okay, Dave does his work. He tested out. He identified that there was an issue with the email address. We cleaned that one up. And then there's me messing around. And there are two places where that email address has to be captured, or not really captured, but secured, both on your client and then on the hosting side. And this was to ensure that if somebody develops their own client, wants to use BrainDrive model, it becomes possible. And there's a little gate check on the email address to make sure it's actually valid. Um, and while that seems like a little bit of work, we worked in other areas last week, which was one, I just call it the auditor right now. It's probably going to become a much larger engine. And this started with me doing, I call it money trails. Anytime software has money involved, where the user can put money involved in it, the credit card information, and it reaches out to Stripe or whoever or PayPal. A lot of security, a lot of checks and balances, and dot the I's get involved. And to get the AI to assist us with that. And then that stumbled into I call it an agent because I want to go beyond money on this one, is to actually work out the workflows within BrainDrive and have audits. Because the reports that we were able to get from just the money audit actually can steer us in where we should be coding next, identify issues before anybody else does, and just legitimately become part of our test team and work team in the development atmosphere. And then the other agent working on, which is releases, which was going on before, that is because it's a daunting process to create release. You have to do the change logs for all the work. Then we have a Docker image that needs to be updated. We have that has to be signed as well. Windows, build the Rust Tory wrapper around the application, then sign that on Windows, and then you have the Mac. Same thing, and then sign it with the notary service with the Apple software. Because at some point we want to see these in their prospective stores and more availability to users. And so we have to start doing the process now. It has to get easier, faster, and smoother. And that's what this software, the release bridge, I call it, is. And I worked on the back end mainly this weekend. I haven't touched the front end. There's nothing really to see. But this also goes to the build process that we're looking at building for, or the factory, as Dave calls it, where we can put a spec in. It can take over from there of building the actual implementation plan, the phases for it, the milestones, and go through the entire test process. And the more times I can do that by hand, it just adds maturity to the spec building that. And so that we don't have the iterations of, oh, that didn't work out like we wanted to, or like that. We get through the maturity part faster before the even code touches the ground. But that was last week in a nutshell. And then I'll go into the conversation that we were getting ready to hit on. On Friday, it was how can we give free API keys? So let
Yeah,
me
and what brought this about is we did a Reddit post in the Entrepreneur Ride Along forum on Reddit. We got a lot of good feedback, and people that seem like they'd be game to help us test out and be beta testers for BrainDrive. And instead of being like, "Hey, yes, thank you for helping us beta test," like go pay $5 to
Mhm.
add credits to your BrainDrive. We thought it would be nice since people are helping us out
Yep.
with the beta to offer, the ability for them to use the BrainDrive model for free. They can already use their own Open Router API
Yep.
key if they want to do that, and they can use Olama if they want to do that. So, but it's, BrainDrive models is designed to make it easy. So how can we make that even easier by giving out some API keys to people that have offered to help us beta test?
Well, the first thing I did was on Friday and going into Saturday was identify, I'll call it the weak points. We have to make sure that we don't hit pressure on any of these points. And the first one, of course, we do not want to interrupt our current chain of money whatsoever. So the person puts in their email address, their credit card, it goes through the entire process with Stripe and comes back in with a API key that's worth X amount of dollars. Just because the more times you poke at that process, you open up exposure. And when you're dealing with credit card information, we just rather not have to touch that liability whatsoever. So that comes to building a subsystem which handles, we'll call it the gift cards or whatever there are, in that nature. When you're dealing with that aspect, you have, of course, people trying to reuse them, which is an issue. So one, you have to have limits in that way. The second thing is it, you'd want to think it'd be easy, but because of the fact that we allow people to their memory, they can move it, they can transport it, they can copy it if they wanted to by hand. And if a reuse opportunity was exposed, they can simply, hey, I'll use this code right here with this email address, copy my memory over here, and do it again. And they just keep piggybacking. Before you know it, somebody has spent $1,000 and just been doing the entire interview process whatsoever. And so it's like trying to prevent that liability in every facet is become the process. And that's what took me from
Okay.
here's good.
So, so right now, I assume if I wanted to, I do this already, so I'm pretty
Yep,
sure this is fine, but tell me if there's an issue. So right now, if I wanted to buy 10 API keys, each with $5 on it,
yep.
I can go to the settings page in BrainDrive, and I can put in my email address, and I can buy as many. Well, I can buy the first API key, and then I put in a different email address, and I buy the second API
Mhm.
key, and I could give those API keys to whoever I wanted.
You can, however, because of that chain that exists, they are all tied to your email address as well. So it kind of when we get into the what's going to eventually happen is auditing, it's not really going to reflect accurately. We won't really know who's using what, and it won't be tied to their own system. Because ideally, we'd want somebody, hey, I got this free money. It's tied to my email address. This is mine. And we want to be able to audit that as well. How much free money did we give away? Where did it go? Instead it'll be Dave used $1,300 worth of credits, which doesn't help us in an auditing facet at all.
Okay, so right now, if I sign up, I can only have one API key per email address. Is that right?
Yes, basically. Because that's
Okay.
when we went hidden, that was that tie-in right there to make sure
Yeah, and we're
everything's
trying to, we're not trying to like capture people's email address,
yep,
but basically we have to have a way to send you the API key, and also to make it easy to uh, update the balance,
yep,
basically to add additional credits to
yes.
your okay. Um, so that's the issue, is it's tied to an email address.
Exactly. Yes, when it comes and then to prevent loss, which or fraud, or however what's the term. I don't want to use any harsh terms, but the fact is, if you have a key sitting out there, you have, one key has $1 limit. That's easy to do. But let's say you have 100 people, you want to each give $1 to. How does that handle easily? Because you had 57,000 people looking at your thread. You probably are having a conversation with another 50 to 100 that would possibly be interested, and that could get daunting on your time wise of creating 100 API
Okay, this
keys.
this is what I don't want to get into though,
Yeah,
because I want the simplest solution
there you go. Yeah,
first,
exactly.
right?
Yes.
And I don't want to spend a lot of time building out a sophisticated system for this before we even know if people are even going to want to do this or
Yep.
not, right? Um, so, in terms of thinking about, we want people to be able to use BrainDrive with GLM 5.2. Okay.
Yep.
So, OpenRouter has the ability to create API keys. I can just create an API key on
Yep.
OpenRouter right now, tell people to use GLM 5.2 with OpenRouter, and we're off to the races.
Correct.
That's what
Correct.
we're doing.
Okay.
Forget about everything
Yep.
else. Um, that's all I want is 10 people giving us
Yep.
feedback at this point, and I want the easiest path to
That's
that.
the
And
easiest
then,
path right there without offering vulnerability into our system.
great, perfect. So that's done. All right, great. Um, and it was good. We got a lot of very positive feedback.
Mhm.
People seem to be definitely into the idea of self-sovereign AI or user-owned AI. They seem to get it. I think the best comments were around, people really understanding what we know, which is it has to be easy for
Yep.
people, and people are not going to be willing to jump through a lot of hoops for this. So I'm thinking about doing a follow-up post on just how we're thinking about making this as easy as possible. I think that hits the nail on the head, and that's the
Yeah, and
difficult part of
I'd say
this.
we, but you went through a lot of effort in toning me down because
Yeah,
I can build something overcomplicated in a heartbeat. And as a developer, that's easy.
yeah,
You built, banging in my head of simple, simple, simple. And
yeah,
it's like, and that's when I'm developing with all this, it's like I'm always hammering the AI. No, this has to be a non-tech user should be able to see the interface, and it goes, I got that.
right, right. So I think I might do a follow-up post on, making things easy. We didn't pick up. We got one new customer from that. We don't have the ability to see, other
Yeah,
people downloading it and using it with OpenRouter, no llama, et cetera. But we got a lot of views and not much traction in terms of brain drive owners from that. And I think, the something I'm chewing on from just a distribution standpoint and getting the word out there is the user-owned AI and self-sovereign AI message like really resonates with people, but people aren't jumping to use that. Where I think the goal setting process,
yep,
that's really the value that we're offering to people right now is making it easy to define and reach your goals with
yep,
AI. And we've already talked about setting it up from a messaging standpoint where that's the first message is,
yep.
hey, this can be useful for you. And then it's like, oh, by the way, also you own all this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And it depends on who's reading it. They're the ones that it's like, which one's going to be their call to action?
Yeah,
Because like the self-sovereign people or the local people, it's like they're all like verbally, I get you, but
yeah,
the action tends to not be there because it's like they're probably very exhausted with the daunting install processes. So that's their first little speed bump in their head. It's like, oh, another
yeah,
install.
yeah, yeah. All right. So for this week, following up on that, and trying to get our content engine going is my main thing. How about from your side?
I want to do at least two more releases this week just to run through that whole process, mature it. I want to, even though there's no front end, this should be down to one script I run, basically a pre-flight. It checks everything and then execute. I have two human in the loop stops on that, but this should be that simple, just at the end of the day. No AI assist, no, hey, let me watch this log for you and stuff like that. Get it that simple. Want to start pushing on the auditing, start encapsulating more systems so we can see that grow and take using the logs as you've seen like that. It's pointing out issues that we need to start summing up. So how do we take those logs, turn that into an active work spec, and then pushing that forward to results in the code. If we
Okay.
can get to that measurement, and I think, let me, ooh, I need to find where would I find it? Want it really quick. I want to check the agenda from last week. There we go. We have not built tail scale, so I want to get that finished. We have done the spec for it, but we haven't actually did the coding for it yet. Let's see. I have some the Hertzner and the backups for that. I want to document that and get that in process so we have that always sitting there. Um, oh yeah, and then of course I'll call it just load balancing on the BrainDrive mobiles, which is basically how do we do an update on BrainDrive models without interrupting users. And stuff like that. That was already so I just have some specs to do one thing of coding, which is the tail scale. Uh, but otherwise than that, it's the audit. How do we turn the audit into actual work? and the release process, getting that down to it is legitly under 20 minutes and something I have confidence in.
Alrighty. Sounds good. Anything else you want to talk about for this week?
No, I think especially if we get to if we can get to the end of this week with the auditing actually bearing fruit and the release process, because then we're just building in the middle because we can audit, find the work, do the work, release the work.
Yeah.
It's all our little boys in a row.
Alrighty, sounds good. So, as we talked about at the beginning of the call, our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative for big tech AI systems. We do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern, live streamed here on YouTube, and we post recordings over on